Some of you really wanted me to talk about the Godzilla fighting games by Pipeworks Software from the 2000s. I've been avoiding it for a few reasons, among them the fact I don't talk about video games in my channel, so this would feel a little out of place. Also, there are already quite a few retrospectives on these games around on YouTube, so mine will probably feel a little redundant. But what the hell. This is the 400 subscribers special, so this is a gift for you. My review of the 3 Godzilla fighting games developed by Pipeworks and published by Atari. Released in 2002 for the GameCube and 2003 for the Xbox, Destroy All Monsters Melee was Pipeworks' first take on a Godzilla game, and for what is overall their first game ever, it isn't half bad. To get this out of the way, this is clearly a party game meant to be played by you and 3 other friends. They just drop the players in a pretty large, almost 100% destructible map and expect you to toss buildings at each other until there's nothing but rubble left in the screen. It's a mess, and a fun one at that. Although I will admit this is a type of game your enjoyment of will be directly proportional to how much you enjoy spending time with the people you are playing with, because by yourself this might be a bit of a drag. The developers really took to heart the idea of you becoming a monster from the Godzilla franchise, so basically every playable character is both a grappler and a zoner, something aggravated by the fact everyone has the same set of melee attacks, meaning you are kinda forced to rely on your character's range and special attacks. Seriously, try beating the AI of this game with only punches and kicks. You can't. And you better like fighting the AI, because clearing the ladder is the only way of unlocking all of the characters, since you won't start with Godzilla, Anguirus and Megalon, and acquires the other monsters by beating the main story mode over and over again with different fires. Or you could use cheat codes to unlock all of them. That's what I did after a while. If you are going to unlock the monsters the way the game wanted you to, though, it will be a bit to do. And not that worthwhile, since the character roster is a little dull. There are 12 monsters, not too shabby a number by itself, but it gets less exciting when you consider that Kiryu is exclusive to the Xbox version, and 2 others, namely Godzilla 2000 and Mecha King Ghidorah, are just reskins of Heisei Godzilla and regular King Ghidorah. As far as the character cuts go, though, is a pretty solid, if safe, selection. Everyone you would expect to be here is, plus some outliners ranging from all eras of the franchise history. That being said, in what concerns the design of mainstays like Ghidorah and Godzilla himself, they clearly went for then more recent interpretations of the monsters, which, makes sense. But yeah, this is Destroy All Monsters Melee. It is serviceable, but with a lot of room for improvement, which is good because this is exactly what Pipeworks would do in the following installments. Godzilla Save the Earth followed for the Xbox and PlayStation 2 in 2004, just in time for the franchise's 50th anniversary. Gameplay is largely the same, save for a few minor tweaks and the addition of a beam lock, which is awesome beyond measure. The big changes here are in regard to presentation and content. There's a lot more of it, starting with the monsters, with 7 new ones to pick from. Pretty much all of them add new and wacky mechanics to the table that make them much more enjoyable to play with. Mothra, for one, starts in her lava form. She's pathetic. She can't even grab other monsters. All she does is shoot silk at her opponents to immobilize them and spin wildly in the air. Super accurate to the movies, but still pathetic. And it is a blast to play that way, especially since that at any point during a match, she can turn into Imago Mothra and start dealing some serious damage. She's pretty wonky to control, especially if you're trying to grab someone, but man, is it fun. Most of the new monsters have their own quirks as well, like Jaguar being able to grow or shrink in size, and Mogeta stop dead on its tracks if it runs out of energy. It is a nice change of pace from the sameness of the monsters from the original game. Another nice change of pace is the game's side mode, now consisting in a variety of challenges from the expected, like causing X amount of destruction or defeating your opponent under certain conditions, to the really absurd, like playing basketball and bowling with Godzilla. Honestly, these are way more entertaining to play than the regular arcade mode, and I wish they had built the main action mode around these challenges. It would make playing through it over and over again more appealing. Yes, you still have to play through the ladder several times to unlock most of the game's content. The difference is that instead of arbitrarily receiving a new monster for clearing the arcade with a specific character, you gain points throughout the adventure that you can then spend on things like new monsters, new stages, and artwork. Why? Anyway, it is better than the model we had before, because at least you can work towards buying things you actually want instead of relying on blind chance, in case you don't have a guide, that is. But it is still a ton of grind if you want to have all monsters unlocked. Even worse, the way you unlock the monsters is this. You buy a character pack for 60,000 points. Which is fine, as you would expect all monsters from the pack to be instantly available for you to play, but no, instead you only get one monster from the pack and have to buy the remaining 3 for 30,000 points each. That's a lot of bullshit in my opinion, and a glaring example of artificially extended game time. Especially since, as I said, you can only get points from playing one specific game mode. Still, it is better than what it had before, and this is true for the whole game. Make no mistake, this is still a wonky and shallow experience that is way more entertaining with the right friends. But the amount and variety of content here is more than enough to make the fun last for much longer. I would be perfectly happy if this was the last Pipeworks had to offer to us, but they still came back for one third round, except this time results were less satisfying. Finally, in 2007, we got Godzilla Unleashed for the PlayStation 2 and Wii. Now, to get this out of the way, don't bother playing it on PS2. It is basically an uglier, watered-down version of the previous installment, without most of the game modes and characters included on its Wii counterpart. I'm totally going to be mauled to death over this comment. Now, the Wii version. This is the game with the most changes to the gameplay formula. Individually, they seem mostly inoffensive, like the introduction of a power-up mode you activate by destroying crystals around the arena, having to charge your energy meter, and the health bar being divided into chunks that regenerate over time. Combined, however, these changes to the gameplay make the fight go on for way longer than they should, completely killing the mood. Another aggressive mood killer are the motion controls of the Wii. That's right. Certain moves require you to perform specific gestures with the Wiimote to execute. As you can imagine, the motion input isn't exactly the best in this game, and you will spend a lot of time jumping around while trying to grab the opponent. Also, the camera on this game is... when it is not way too close to the action for its own good. On a more positive note, the story mode was completely revamped. No longer the standard ladder where you fight one monster after another, this campaign lets you choose between different scenarios for you to battle through. Some are your typical 1v1 battles, others pit you against 2 or even 3 monsters, or you and another monster versus a third, or start a 1v1 before dropping a third monster into the mix. Not to mention scenarios in which you have to just destroy specific things in the map under a timer. It is basically what I said I wanted for a story mode, although with less variety of things to do overall. It still is a nice change of pace from the honestly quite bare-bones single-player campaign of the previous 2 installments. What is also a change of pace, although not exactly one for the better, is the character unlock progression, in which you have to beat certain missions under specific requirements during story mode to acquire new monsters. This is certainly more involved than mindlessly playing through the ladder over and over again. The problem here lies in how cryptic the requirements for unlocking each monster can be most of the time, not to mention that you still have to buy the characters after unlocking them. At least this time you can get points from playing any game mode, which makes the grind way more bearable. But man, is it definitely a joy to see this character roster complete. Pretty much everyone is here, plus a couple of original monsters because why not? They even managed to finally put the original Mecha Godzilla in it. I think the only major omission here is Ghidorah, and that's only because they couldn't find a way of making it work with the game's engine. This is even more impressive considering they had to pay for the license of each monster individually. They don't come in a bundle. I think this is the greatest triumph of Godzilla Unleashed, putting all these characters together at last in a video game. Sure, there are way better giant monster games for you to play out there. Some of them even have Godzilla in it. But where else could you recreate the climatic battle of Godzilla vs Megalon? I hope you've enjoyed listening to me rambling about this game as much as I didn't enjoy capturing footage of them for this video. Don't ever ask me to cover a video game again. Anyway, thank you so much for the 400 subscribers. You are all so beautiful, I love you! Next one is the start of the King Kong retrospective and you don't wanna miss it. Bye!